The Savage Hawkman, number 19, written by Tom DeFalco, art by Joe Bennett and Jack Jadson. So, last issue was a whole bunch of whatever. Doesn't really impact this story, save for the fact of there were weird experiments going on at this mental health facility, and they were thinking about putting Emma's dad in there. And this issue basically deals with that. So we pick up in media res with somebody throwing around Hawkman, and it's this big hulking brute, and he's like, oh, you're a threat, you're a danger to her. And Hawkman's like, don't make me hurt you, I'll hurt you. And he pulls out his nth metal ace, and the giant hand just crushes it in his hand. And then we cut back to 24 hours earlier, where Hawkman is flying around, and he's like, I'm in Justice League of America now. I wasn't when this book started, but now I am, and we're just going to pretend like it's always been a thing. And he questions why in Justice League of America they made him out to be a Thanagarian police officer in need of diplomatic immunity, which I also questioned because that was not at all the origin story. But hey, that's just, I guess they are lying in that book. So anyway, he transforms out of Hawkman. He calls up Emma and says like, hey, Emma, what's going on? And Emma's like, hey, just wanted to remind you, we're going to drop my dad off at that place tomorrow. Are you coming with? And he's like, yeah, sure, of course. I'm totally going to be there. Unless the JLA needs me. They don't. So we go to the Rest Haven Medical Facility, and we meet Mark, who we met last time. He was the patient that was being like tested on or something like that. But he comes out and he greets them, and Dr. Ziegler is like, oh yeah, hey, Emma, I want to go talk to the guy in charge myself. You explore the grounds with them. Please just give me that last little dignity before I'm locked away in this home. And I was like, okay, well, you're making me feel bad, but yeah, sure, whatever. So her, Carter, and Mark explore the grounds as Dr. Ziegler goes and meets with Dr. Fane. And he's basically like, all right, Dr. Fane, here's the thing. I've done some research into you. You've done amazing things here with like dementia and Alzheimer's, but it seems like you don't really follow the normal treatment schedule. And Fane's like, yeah, nah, I think that's stupid. We come here and we face it. We take the aggressive approach. And Ziegler's like, I'm intrigued. Can you tell me more? So then we cut over to Mark, who's basically showing him around, and he's just like, oh yeah, no, his place is great. I love Dr. Fane. He does great stuff. We used to have more people working here, but Doc blamed it on something called the economy. And when they all left, we do our special work. And both of Emma and Carter are like, what do you mean by special work there, pal? And he's like, oh, it's a secret. I can't tell you. But sometimes it really, really hurts. And they're like, okay, so are you like good? And he's like, oh yeah, no, I mean, kids used to pick on me all the time, but now it's, my dad gave me this medallion. He passed away. And they're like, Mark, you're saying a lot of tragic stuff, and it sounds like bad things are going on. You cool? And Mark's just like, oh yeah, no, it was no big deal. So he also is taking a liking to Emma, saying that she's a pretty lady and very nice to him. And at that point, Dr. Fane and Ziegler show up and he's just like, oh yeah, no, everything's cool. We're totally cool. I like this place. So Emma, if you could come in and just sign the paperwork and we'll all be good. And Carter's like, Professor, are you sure? Like, we're talking to Mark here and he's kind of not okay. And he's just like, no offense, but this is a family decision. So Emma, you in? And Emma's like, okay, yeah, no, I guess I'll pick up the paperwork then. So then we cut to later, I guess at Emma's apartment, and Carter's trying to cook dinner for Emma, failing miserably, and says, cool, what do you want on your pizza? But they now have to have the talk, as at the end of last issue, Emma was basically like, look, you might have to choose between Hawkman and me. What's it going to be? And he's just like, yeah, well, now I'm involved in the JLI, so that made everything a little bit more complicated. But yeah, they sit down and start having their talk. Cut over to Rest Haven. Dr. Ziegler's gotten a little confused. He doesn't know where he is. He's wandering the halls. He hears screaming. He follows that. And as he hears the screaming, he calls up Emma. And Carter and Emma are, sharing a pizza, just talking, trying to figure out what's going on. And then Emma picks up and he's like, oh no, something's going on. He's experimenting on this boy. And he comes in and sees Mark being experimented on. And Ziegler's like, you've overstepped. You can't. You're torturing this boy. He's like, no, this is his treatment. I'm doing what's best for him. But Ziegler stumbles in, trips over some cords, and has doused both himself and Mark in this experimental liquid. So Carter hears the yelling and screaming on his end of the phone. He Hawkman's out and says, like, I fly faster alone. And I was like, dude, that's my dad. You're taking me with. Fair enough. So they fly over to Rest Haven, and immediately busting out the side of doors, that same hulking brute from the beginning. It turns out it's Ziegler. Ziegler is hulked out, and he's like, oh, you beast with my daughter. He's not good for you, Emma. Get away from my daughter. So Ziegler starts beating the ever-living crap out of Hawkman. Hawkman's trying not to fight back because it's his girlfriend's dad, but kind of has to fight back a little bit. Dr. Fane runs out of the building, and Emma's like, what did you do to my dad? And he's like, what do you do? Your dad's the whole reason this happened, and he only got a minor dose. You got to worry about Mark, who was doused in majority of it. And then all of a sudden, pretty much destroying the whole of the building, busts out Mark. And he charges after Hawkman, grabs him and says, like, oh, you're just making fun of me like all those kids did before. And he starts beating the crap out of him. Emma tells her dad that she has to save Hawkman. And in his anger and unknown strength, he somehow accidentally backhands his daughter and is like, no, I didn't mean it. So at that point, she's unconscious. Ziegler's now fighting against Mark because Mark has turned his attention to Emma being knocked out. And he's like, she was pretty and she was nice to me and you hurt her. Now we will fight. And so they're charging after each other. Meanwhile, Hawkman's just been knocked down a well far off the property, and his nth metal recedes, and it looks like he's going to die in this well. I'm sure he will with one issue left in the series. He'll definitely die here. Okay. I enjoy it. I think it's a solid enough, like, it's building up Blockbuster, because that's just the name of the whole thing, is Blockbuster. Beware the Blockbuster, in fact. So we're setting up Mark as this bigger villain. We do have one little panel. I don't even know where it is, but we have one panel that basically sets up the name. So I like that as a villain setup of, here's this guy, we met him as just a normal person before and then doused in chemicals. And it's not just him. That's the part I like about it, is that someone else was affected by it as well. And I'm sure they're going to get Dr. Ziegler either dead or back to normal by the end of next issue. He's not just going to be a villain that reoccurs, but it's nice to see that there is this thing where one of them's going to continue to be a villain and the other one's going to be probably fine. I say probably. So overall, I enjoyed it. I think the art's fine. I look forward to seeing how they're going to wrap everything up next issue. Because this book is ending and JLA is continuing, I assume that they'll finish up their talk with Emma saying, like, you have to be Hawkman. This is who you really are, or something like that. And we'll end it on a little tragic note. But honestly, with that in mind, Ziegler might actually die. So we'll see how that goes. Either way, I'm going to give this one I'll give it a flat 7. It's fine. It's good throughout. It goes by really fast, and it's not a bad thing, but it is just kind of like a basic, decent comic. There's nothing that much more I can really say about it. So, 7.